I could probably use this for the moon actually. Now let's just try and see. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so we'll put that behind the clouds. Put that up here, and Control T, make it a little smaller. Holding Shift, you have to hold your Shift when you drag the corner in so that the proportions are kept. Let's put that right about there. And we're going to put the text in front of it, obviously. Put the text in front of everything. And for now I'm going to turn the text off by clicking the little eyeball so that I can see the background better. And I'm going to lower the opacity of the moon. More realistic. Let me see, this is looking like yours yet. Okay, yeah, it's getting there. Okay, so I'm going to put a glow on the moon because it is a moon after all. And I did that by double clicking on the moon's layer, going to outer glow, and select linear dodge add, opacity at 100. Let's change the color to a blue, and turn the size up. Leave spread alone. Range will make the glow stronger or lighter. You see, like this. So yeah, so typically you want it somewhere around there. It just depends on what you're putting the glow on. We're going to crank the glow up a bit. Okay. And I'm going to change the color a little bit more green. Or maybe even yellow. Yellow, hey, there we go. That works. There we go, that looks good. Okay. Say okay. Turn the opacity back up on it. Oh, that looks okay. That's good. Alright. I could actually take the cloud that I have in front of it and make it a different color, and then put it in front of it, and it'll make it look like it's white. So let's change that cloud to gray. Okay. And okay. Put it right there. There we go. Looks pretty damn good. I'm going to make a copy of it by Alt and dragging and make another one up there. Okay, now we're going to put some stars in this. I'm going to my brush tool and going down to the brush selection, picking some sparkles. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so we've got one, and make a new layer. There's another, and make a new layer and resize the star up. There's another, make a new layer, size it up even bigger, and make a new layer, and make it small and put a few around as fillers. Okay, I think that's good. What do you think? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add some glows to these stars. And let me see, where is that star? There it is. Okay, we're going to turn down the size so that it'll bring it in. And turn down the range, or yeah, turn down or turn up the range. Okay, that one's good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to right click on that layer and copy layer style, and then go to all the other star layers and paste that layer style. Then I can go in and just change the color. It's a lot easier and quicker that way. So we'll might even decide that we like it all the same color. Maybe go to the top and do the same. Paste. Okay, I think that looks good. Alright, so now we need to, what is the next step? Okay, shadow. Oh boy, the dreaded shadow. We're going to do the shadow. Do. Okay, shadow time. Now, Katie, I don't know what you were going for here, but I wanted to explain to you about how shadow works, how positioning works for it. If your shadows that you have here were correct, this would mean that the light source would be coming from the front side, this side, and top at the same time, as well as front head on, because you have this shadow, actually front down, facing up, because this shadow light source would be coming from down here, going up. This light down here, or this shadow down here's light source would be from up here in front, and this would be from over here somewhere. Impossible, unless you had multiple light sources. Well, your moon is behind you as well as this bright star. You should not have your shadows behind you. There's no way it would be cast that way. So we're going to go ahead and do them the right way. Also, like I said earlier, the shadow always has to be touching the person or the avatar. It has to be underneath one of the feet, because think about your shadow in real life. Unless you're jumping in a very strange way, there is no way that the shadow would look this way. It wouldn't be attached to you. It needs to be attached to your body. This foot here would have the shadow away from it slightly, because this foot looks like it's up in the air a little bit. So yeah, that foot should be away from it slightly, but this foot should be touching this one. So we're going to, other than that, that shadow looks pretty good. You did, a decent job on the shadow itself, and even how you laid it down and made it look, like it's actually on the ground. That was good. So good for you for that. We just need you to work on the realism for it, so it actually looks like a shadow that is actually on this avatar. So we're going back to Photoshop. I'm going to make a copy of her. Where is she? There she is. Okay, Control and Shift, or Control click the little thumbnail in the layers panel. We'll select your avatar or that layer, and it'll put the little marching ants around it. I'm going to delete that layer. Then I'm going to hit D as in David to make my color palette black over white, and then hold down Alt and click Delete to fill it with black. Now this is the way I do it. It doesn't mean it's the right way, it doesn't mean it's the wrong way. It's just the way I do it. There are 1,000 ways to do this stuff. This is how I do it. So now I'm going to flip this one, because yeah, the light source is behind her, that moon. I'm going to flip her vertically, bring it down, Control T to select, turn it a bit, and hold down your control button, and right about there. Zoom out a little bit, kinda like this. Well, I'm holding my control the whole time I'm doing this, so you know. There we go. Okay, there we go. That's the shadow right there. Go ahead and hit OK. Bring that shadow up just a little. There we go. Now this shadow is being created from this moon light source. This is the direction that this shadow would be. Might be a little bit too thin. Let me see here. That's a little better, I think. Or not. I'm never happy with my shadows. I have problems with shadows still. So I can feel everybody's pain learning them. I remember when I learned them, I hated them. I swore I would never do it. I would never get it down, and I'm still learning. I still don't know how to do them right. Okay, screw it. That's good enough. So there we go. We've got the shadow. Now you're going to want to, typically if you've got the room, you're going to want to do a gradient fill on it, but for now, because we don't have that much room, we don't need to. I'm just going to lower the opacity on it. Trying to think if I should blur it. Let's go ahead and blur it. We're going to go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I don't think it really needs to be blurred. I'll just do a slight blur on it and keep the opacity down at about 50. Yeah, 50. Whoops. Okay, there's 50. Alright, hit enter. Okay, so now we need to, I'm going to put a bevel highlight on her. We'll use yellow. soften up. And change this to linear dodge add. Turn that up. Change this to blue and change it also to linear dodge add. And go blue. Actually, we'll go mint green because it looks like the bottom is, okay, mint green. There, okay. Now we're going to drag this angle around to get a good positioning for the shadow, or for the highlights. Put this highlight towards the moon because that's what it's supposed to be coming from. And let's just use an arrow, my arrows to go. Come on. I don't think that green wants to work. Alright, let's try this one. Oh, shoot. Well, hey, that's not going to work, so we're not going to use the green. Actually, we could, it's not going to be in the right direction, so I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to go ahead and use the yellow, because I think that's probably the best bet. Turn that down slightly. Okay, that looks fine. Much better. Okay, so there we go. Got that done. I'm going to zoom in on this. Alright, we're starting to look better. Now we're going to put another shadow on it. Actually, a couple more shadows. This is the way you should be doing your shadows. This is the best way to handle them. You want them to look as real as possible. And think about real life shadows. There's never just one shadow when you're sitting in a light source. Any kind of light source. You're going to have multiple shadows. So, I'm going to double click on her layer. Down to drop shadow. I'm going to create a drop shadow with blend mode on normal. We'll leave the angle where it's at. Actually, we're going to turn the angle towards the moon, so it's facing that way. The distance is going to be down to about 5 or 6 for the size. Got to turn the size up just a bit. Turn that distance down a little too. Okay, I'm going to change normal to overlay and turn that down a little tiny bit. What we use these shadows for is simply to give the avatar depth, or along with the bevel and embossing. All of that together really gives the avatar a real life feel, and we need all the help we can get. So we'll hit OK, and now we're going to make the last shadow underneath her. We're going to use the elliptical marquee tool, and you're going to make an oval right about here. About that size for her. Maybe a little bit bigger, but we'll worry about that in a sec. Make a new layer underneath your avatar. And then Alt-Delete to put the black. Well, Alt-Delete as long as you've got black selected, because what Alt-Delete will do is it'll fill whatever you're trying to fill with whatever color you have selected. So, now we're going to Control-G to deselect. There's the circle shadow. Okay. Now we are going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm going to turn this up. Okay, that's good. I turned it up to about 15. Now I'm going to Control-T to select it. Make it a little bigger. Squish this down a bit. Oops. Okay, hit OK. Let's lighten it up a bit. Okay, I guess that's good. Yep, that'll work. Okay, we need a better floor than this, though. That's my problem I'm having right now.